Welcome everyone, this is Dina from Mark's Group Live, happy to be reviewing with you how to work with blueprints in Zoho CRM. After the video is over, feel free to email us at support@marksgrouplive.com for any questions on this subject or anything else Zoho. Be sure to rate this class as well, helping out your fellow Zoho users as well as us to improve our video library. Here are some key takeaways on what we're going to cover today. First, blueprints are a tool used in Zoho to allow you to automate your processes, validate certain actions are taken, and assign actions to specific users. Blueprints are created using states and transitions, where states are the stages in the process and transitions are the conditions that must be met between one state and another. Blueprints are often used during the lead or deal processes, but can also be used for any process in any module. So let's go into Zoho now, and I can show you a little bit more of what I mean. So first, just to highlight where we get to blueprints from before we get to the screen you see here. If you click the tools at the top right, and then you come down to the second row, process management, you would select blueprint here. And this is where you would get and you would see the existing module, the existing blueprints that you have. If there is a red asterisk, that means that it's a draft copy of the blueprint. And as you can see here, we have a number of different blueprints that are from the different modules. You have leads, deals, tasks, solutions, quotes, and like I mentioned, you can use you can create a blueprint in any module that you want. The only requirement is that the field that you're creating the blueprint on, it has stages in it. So that's part of why if you think of a lead process or a deal process, you're usually using status stages, and those are usually where you're going to use a blueprint to prompt certain action in each of those stages. So if we were to go into this demo lead process, just to show you a blueprint and how it applies. So first, as I mentioned, there are states and transitions. So the states are the white boxes here, and these are basically the different stages of the lead process. Then you have these green or blue boxes that are connecting the states to each other, and those are called the transitions. So you have the states, which are basically the options in your pick list of the field that you have. And you can pick which ones you include here. As you can see in this blueprint, the pre-qualified and not qualified were not put into this blueprint. And then within each blueprint, you can organize it, and then you have these transitions. So if we were to click on this transition, and then you go over to the right side, and you see we're in transitions now, you can make certain actions happen either before the transition to the stage, during the stage, or after the stage before you can close and move on to another action. So here, there's nothing that was put into this blueprint for attempted to contact before, but you can apply different rules if you'd like. During is probably the most common, and as you can see here, there is a note that a check mark next to make notes mandatory. So before somebody can move into the attempted to contact stage or move out of it, they need to make sure a note is put in, and I'll show you how that works. You can make an attachment mandatory. Let's say you have a call record document that always gets filled out. You can make sure that's attached here as well. And then here you can create a message, and you can either tie the message to a specific field or just do a generic message, so that will pop up as well. And then afterwards, you can set up different activities. You can do an email notification where you'd be emailing someone related to this stage. You can do a task, and in this case, a task is now being set up to follow up the leads on the lead in 3 days, and that will go most likely to the lead owner. You can open that, and you can see that this is all created as it's going to go to the record owner because nobody else was assigned here. You can do a webhook. You can do a field update if you wanted to update a certain field based on this transition into this stage, etc. And you can do that at any one of these different transitions. So I'm going to leave this page now, and then what I'm going to do is create a blueprint from something outside of a deal or a lead, since that's traditionally what people think of. So I'm going to do something in the quotes, and then you're going to choose, so you're going to always name it, then you're going to choose the module that the blueprint applies to. I'm going to do quotes. If there's more than one layout, you can pick which layouts this applies to, and then you choose the field. And as I mentioned, and you can see the information button here, you have to use a pick list with multiple values. These will be the states. So each of these values will be the state. So it's important. It doesn't have to be stages. It can be maybe in contacts, different contact types or something like that. But you need to always pick. Zoho will only show you fields that have pick lists in them to pick from. If you wanted to, you could set further criteria. Let's say you only want, say, billing country, and then you can choose that the billing country has to be the United States, for instance. And then you can only have this blueprint apply to prospects or whoever in the United States. But I'm going to change that out for now. Then you're going to go to next. And then as you can see, we have these available states. And you have an option. You can set up the process based on moving from one to the other, or if there's only one state that you need to, one transition or something where you need to set up some action, you can do it there as well. So let's say we have draft. You just slide these over. Negotiation. And delivered. So what you can do here is, these are the states now, and then you want to kind of line them up, or if you had different processes, you can do what you need to there as well. And then you just connect them to each other. And then you do that here as well. You can connect these. Now you have these red pluses, and you can even just, if you wanted to adjust how these line up with each other, you can do whatever you want here. Now these red pluses are where you create the transition. And this is where you would click on that, transition name, and you would say, what is the transition that has to happen from draft to negotiation? So maybe it's customer discussion. And you want to save that name. And then what you want to have happen is, during this stage of moving from draft to negotiation, you want to make a note mandatory. And then if you want to add a message, you can always add a message or a field. And what you can say in this message is, please make sure you explain in the notes what the customer is interested in. And then if you wanted to, you can then add an email notification or something like that, but we're not going to do that now. So that's the first transition. And then here, from negotiation to delivered, we can then say attach quote, let's say. And then what we can say here is that we can make attachment mandatory. And just to really be clear, we can add a message here and say, please be sure to attach the quote going to the customer. And if you wanted, you can use a specific merge field so you know who it is. And then since you're sending this, delivering it, you can set up a task. Maybe it's a reminder to follow up. Maybe you want to do that in a week, give them a week. And then you can, you can click notify assignee, and I'm not going to put anybody, so this will just be the record owner, and we're done here. So then I can publish this. And you can see I had already done one quote one, but we're going to use the quotes one, and then here's what we had put together. So now what you'd want to do is show you how this actually works. Go to quotes, and then I'm going to create a quote now. Now, one thing that's really important to understand that's a limitation of the blueprint is that it only works going forward. So if you have other quotes that you've put in, the blueprint will not apply to those quotes. Or if you set up some kind of deal or lead blueprint, it will not apply to deals or leads that have been there before. It will only apply going forward. So here I'm going to make the subject of blueprint quote. The deal name is going to be Blueprint. And then the account name we'll put as Museum of Natural History. Those are the only required fields, so that's all I'm going to do for now. I'm going to do save. I need to add in line items, so I'm just going to add in test product 1, add the product, and we have the quote here. I'm going to save this. And then here is where you see the blueprint. It's right under the grand total. You see current state is draft. The transition is draft approved. But I just realized something. I had 2 blueprints on the quote. So what I want to do, go back to the settings, and I don't want the old one to be active. I only want the one that I have to be active. So let me now go back into quote. This one's in draft. So now here's draft, the current state. The transition is draft approved. And in order to move to the next stage, I have to click on this and I have to make a note. And here is where I said, make sure you get XYZ before you can provide a quote. Actually, I'm sorry. This is the wrong blueprint. So I'm going to go back in to the blueprint and I'm going to double check which one. No, this is not the one. Quotes. This is the one that I want to have. Yep. So go back into quotes. And just to make this simpler, let's recreate a new quote. New blueprint. New blueprint quote. We'll do this Museum of Natural History again. Add in a line item. Oops. Okay, so now we're in the draft and we said customer discussion was the transition. So if you remember, I said, please make sure you explain in the notes what the customer is interested in. So just here, I'll say customer is interested in test products and maybe more. Going to save that. And then that's now going to move us into the negotiation. And then negotiation, here I made the attachment required. And here is where we said, please be sure to attach the quote going to the customer. Now, I don't have a quote right now, but this is where then you would click here, and then you have some options on how you can attach that quote. I'm going to cancel out, but this is also a good example to show that this is a negotiation. We want to move it to delivered, but with this blueprint in place, Zoho is not going to let you do it until you attach the quote. You're not going to be able to move to the next stage here. So this is a good example of what the benefits of having a blueprint is, because you want that blueprint to guide your process and you want to bring some consistency, and that's one of the main reasons you want to use a blueprint. So let's just go back quickly before we end this video. And just as a reminder, you can do the blueprint in any module, and you can set up on any process or any field that has a pick list in it. So let's go back and review the main takeaways that we had. So as I showed you, blueprints allow you to automate your processes, validate certain actions are taken, and assign actions to specific users. We saw that in terms of the follow-up task that was required of the owner of the record, or in attaching a quote before you could move on to the next stage. You saw that there was the states and the transitions, and how you can define what has to happen in each transition or before each transition happens. And also what we looked at was that blueprints are often used during the lead or deal process, but can be used, like I showed you, in the quote process or anywhere else that you have a pick list, you can apply a blueprint to. And again, just a reminder, one of the biggest limitations with blueprints is that they do not apply to existing records in that module. It only applies going forward. So in closing, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out our video library for other training videos like this one. And we do have some that go more in depth on blueprints themselves. And if you have any suggestions for other classes or questions about Zoho, please email us at support@marksgrouplive.com. Thank you.